What's up, gang? Trippy here. Alright, so look, you guys. We are the champions of the MMA content creation world. The rest of the world is just contenders, and nobody can tell us different. Okay, now look. Tyron Woodley versus Jake Paul. Who wins? Let's jump straight into it. So who's fundamentally and technically the better boxer? The rip. Because it's not really ultimately going to matter that much in this fight. It's Jake Paul. Jake Paul technically and fundamentally is the better boxer because not only is he more experienced, but he just has better shot selection. He has better boxing fundamentals than Tyron Woodley does. Tyron Woodley has not displayed good fundamental boxing, at least in the UFC. Or we just haven't got to see much of it because he's either been a defensive shell or he's only throwing one punch most of the time in mixed martial arts. But I will say this. Who has been tested more? And who has the better cardio and conditioning and all that? So a lot of debate has been surrounded around Tyron Woodley's conditioning. They think that Tyron Woodley, this is a boxing fight and it's so drastically different from the sport he's used to, and that is MMA. I don't think that that's going to matter much because whenever you look at Ben Askren, when he fought Jake Paul, Ben Askren was like over a year removed from mixed martial arts. Not only that, he was coming off of a hip surgery, 2 hip surgeries, and hopped off the couch and boxed Jake Paul at 190 pounds. Something that he couldn't even get to in his peak condition. He couldn't even get that well. Tyron Woodley is my size, my height. We literally have the same height, same reach. And I'm 170 pounds, 175 pounds. This guy is 188, 189 pounds right now, and he looks like a freaking tank. The dude has abs, a big chest. He's freaking shredded at that weight. But anyway, I don't think that the cardio and conditioning is going to be that big of a factor for Tyron. But for Jake, after seeing his brother gassed out like that against Floyd Mayweather, a guy significantly smaller than him, let me mind you, it was a bit alarming to me, and it woke me up a little bit, and that's just that these guys are high-level amateurs at best. Jake Paul, I'm not saying Jake Paul can't box. I'm not saying Jake Paul isn't good or deserving of his hype. I don't think he's deserving of his hype, but I'm not going to go out and say that because y'all guys are just going to say I'm biased towards the MMA guy. That couldn't be further from the truth. But the harsh truth about them is that they're just high-level amateurs. They are. Although he hasn't been hit hard or clean or with proper technique, he has been hit though. He has been hit by much smaller guys. Now, Tyron Woodley is coming in as an amateur in the boxing ring, but he's not an amateur in combat sports. That's important. But look at this. So, Tyron Woodley is also facing a size and reach deficit. Like I said, this guy is my size. Jake Paul will never fight anybody his size. He likes to fight people significantly smaller than him and significantly shorter than him. He just likes to do that. And guys who weigh at least 40 pounds less than him. So with Tyron being at a size deficit, it'd be only smart for Jake Paul to try and use his length and his size to his advantage, which in his championship corner with BJ Flores and all those guys, I would think that they are. Expect a lot of Jake Paul trying to attack Tyron from the distance with 1-2s and crosses and a lot of jump-in hooks. Just see that. And once again, his favorite punch that you're going to see a million times in this fight, that big overhand right. Ironically, the same punch that Tyron Woodley likes to throw. But who throws it better? Who has the power and the speed advantage? So, I'm going to go ahead and just lay it flat on the table. Tyron Woodley, not only does he hit harder than Jake Paul, he's much faster than Jake. Jake is bigger and stronger, but don't let that fool you. Watch Jake Paul's fight with Ben Askren. For a boxer, he's not that fast. He's not that fast for a striker. And he's definitely not going to be that fast in front of Tyron Woodley. He's not. Tyron Woodley is used to fighting elite strikers in the UFC. And I understand, okay, it's not the UFC. This is boxing. I know it's different, dude. I know it's different. But I'm going to say this, is that Tyron Woodley is used to fighting guys who's just simply maneuver faster, better footwork, better all of that than Jake Paul. That is the truth. And once again, Tyron Woodley's defense is actually more solid than you guys give him credit for. Tyron Woodley was notorious for putting on boring fights, but that's because the guy was hard to just get the score up on. Honestly, before guys figured him out, he was hard to score on. And he wouldn't take risks, but he also wouldn't get hit that much, he would literally outland or out wrestle whatever he would do. He would outscore his opponents while barely getting hit. That is the story of Tyron Woodley's championship run before he ultimately got completely pummeled in his last 4 fights, which is something that I see a lot. Because, like I said, this is going to come down to who is the better puncher, in my opinion, and who gets hit less. So, and who can take whose power. That's also important. So, here's another debate that I keep seeing about Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley has lost 4 fights in a row. Tyron Woodley has considerably slowed down. Tyron Woodley, you guys, was fighting once. Let me remind you guys, in a different sport. A completely different sport, and he was fighting at the highest level. And it wasn't because Tyron Woodley he was slowing down, like as if like, oh my gosh, the guy just looks. No, it was mainly because his style got figured out, and it froze him up. It did. And so once your style gets figured out, I mean, it's pretty hard to just kind of ultimately change the way you've been fighting for years. So you really got to cut him more slack for that, man. It's like, when I see that, I just think that's absolutely ridiculous when people say, oh, I'm picking Jake Paul because of Tyron Woodley has slowed down in MMA. So let me put this into perspective for you guys. Since the MMA and all this other kind of nonsense, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? Okay, I get it. But most of Tyron Woodley's knockouts in the UFC has came via a punch. The best thing that Tyron does in striking in MMA was punch. All of it was punches. He had the most power when he punched. Okay? Jake Paul is the better fundamental boxer, like I said. Technically, if you want to really say that, he is the better fundamental boxer because he throws shots more like a boxer than Woodley does. Although he throws sloppy techniques too, he's more fundamentally sound boxing than Tyron Woodley is. But I don't think that he's a better puncher than Woodley, because that same punch that Jake Paul likes, let me ask you guys this. Who throws the punch better? Because they both spam the same punch, the overhand right. Who throws it better? Okay, so who's better at landing it? If you said Jake Paul, man, you're not a combat sports fan. Because Tyron Woodley, that same overhand right that he throws constantly, yeah, whatever, hasn't let him down until his style got figured out. At the highest level, at his championship run, he was able to time that thing over and over again. So yes, it's let him down in his 4-fight losing streak in the UFC, but he's going to have to use it against a guy with 4 boxing matches. I still find that quite ridiculous, man. I still find that quite ridiculous that you guys are so confident in this guy, man. In this guy. And he really hasn't shown you that much. But anyway, so let me go ahead and just jump right into the prediction for this fight. Like I said, Tyron Woodley is hard to hit, but Jake Paul, the truth is that Jake Paul doesn't have the best head movement moving forwards and the best head movement moving backwards. What do I mean by that? Whenever I look at Jake Paul's boxing skill, I think he is a skilled boxer, because I know you guys are going to be like, oh my gosh, you're just biased towards Tyron Woodley, man, you're hopeful thinking. Listen to me, man. Jake Paul's boxing wise is kind of like Apollo Costa, you know. He's going to walk you down, and if you allow him to bring the fight to you, he's going to beat the hell out of you. And I understand Tyron Woodley has been passive in the past, you know. But that's because he was fearing so many threats coming from so many opposite directions. You're giving Tyron Woodley a pair of boxing gloves and telling him only to punch. Something in the UFC that he's been able to do best. His punching was just as effective as his freaking wrestling. His power was just as effective as his wrestling. So that leads me right into this, man. It's just that I believe the game plan of Jake Paul is going to be obvious early on. I think Jake Paul is going to try and outbox Woodley, and that's what I think is going to be his best way to win. But unfortunately, I think what Jake is going to do, I think Tyron Woodley is going to come in, and I think Jake is going to try and press the action. And when Jake tries to press the action, I think he walks into that same counter that Ben Askren hit him with. But Ben Askren didn't have the power to make Jake respect him. So Tyron Woodley absolutely has that power. I believe Jake Paul either walks into something, or they either box in the middle and he gives Tyron space and he puts him out just like he put out Robbie Lawler. Literally almost in the same exact fashion. So what am I saying? This fight is close. Jake Paul can absolutely win. But I struggle with seeing Jake Paul knocking out Tyron Woodley. I can't see that. But I can see Woodley knocking out Jake Paul. If Jake Paul is going to beat Tyron Woodley, he's going to beat him out boxing him. Or maybe Tyron Woodley does gas out. That's his only ways to win, you guys. He's not going to go out there and flatline Tyron Woodley. He may TKO him because the ref needs to stop it. Maybe Tyron's chin is kind of gone. But if Tyron Woodley's chin is the same, I really don't think that he's going to lose this fight, honestly. And as for Jake, I think that this could end very badly for him. Truth be told, I think that this is going to end bad because I believe that if he comes in trying to march Woodley down, he's trying to outbox him while backing Woodley up, thinking that Woodley is going to turn. Woodley might turn into that defensive shell, but you got to remember, man, Tyron Woodley has timed that punch against so many guys, and he's going to time it against Jake Paul. He's going to catch Jake Paul coming in with that big right hand. And if he doesn't, if Jake Paul allows him space, maybe he takes the punch, and Tyron Woodley then starts to walk him down. Jake Paul looks to time him with something big while Tyron Woodley's coming in, and Tyron Woodley starches him with another right hand. That's just how I see it. Basically what I'm saying is Jake Paul is going to get tested badly in this fight. And I think Tyron Woodley is going to hit him, and I don't think that he's going to have a good reaction when the first big punch lands. But this video has gone on for too long. Let me know what you guys think. Show me some in the comments. Show me some love. Let me know. But it's been your boy Trippy, and I'm out, man.